Okay, recording. Okay, guys. So we decided to make this call to talk about our new release on the from the iOS from Rocket.Chat. We are the iOS team. I'm Rafael. Felipe is here and Mateus is here. we are the iOS team right now, and we just released it, a new version, 3.2 in the App Store Monday, and it includes many exciting features, many things that we worked um, inside the app to achieve better performance, better accessibility, uh, much better code maintainability, and this kind of stuff. And so this call is basically a experimentation for us to talk to the community and to the iOS developers that have interest in chat applications, to talk about what's new, some of the technical challenges that we had. Um, Thanks to the send a thank you to the contributors from the specific release, and also talk a little bit about what we are working on for the next release. Um, so I'm going to start saying basically thank you to Claudio Massi that sent us a pull request adding support to the Italian language in the app. We are now supporting, I think, 11 languages in the app. So Italian is a new one. Thank you, Claudio. And also Gabriela Bezerra that sent us a pull request adding a clear button to the forgot password screen. And thank you thanks to Samar. Samar is an old contributor from our app. He added, he was a GSOC student from mentored by Mateus here. Samar added theming support to the app, the black and dark theme to the app. And on these release, he helped us on the writing with many of the theming issues that we were having, performance and everything. So the biggest thing, the headline for this release is that we basically we were using a Slack dependency in the app. A Slack view controller is a deprecated dependency from the Slack team, and we decided that this release was a good one for us to rewrite everything from the masters list, master components, and we basically spent about 3 months and a half since we started researching how to implement it until the end, until we submitted to the start. So basically, we rewrite everything, like all the masters components, all the masters list, all the composer elements, and I will invite Felipe and Mateus to talk more about the technical details of this implementation. So maybe Mateus can start talking about the new composer that we did. Maybe start explaining what's the composer, what's the composer that we are talking about, and then you can play what change we made.
Okay, sure. The composer is the part where you actually write the message, where you like add where you press to upload something, and when you where you press to send the message. So it might seem simple, but it's actually a very complex. It's a very complex component in almost every messaging application. It has many things. It extends and shows GIFs. It's a part of the screen that does a lot of stuff. So I guess the main goal for us this time, the main goals for us on rewriting this component, that before that we used a deprecated SDK to make all this screen, and that included the composer. And it wasn't very extendable. It didn't have a lot of features, and every time we wanted to do something new, we had to go there and write some Objective-C code. just completely we had to just fork everything and use this non-extendable architecture to work with. So the main goals were to adhere to our new design. So we had this everything redesigned for this release. So that's the first goal, like have that adhere to our design. And the second goal was to have an extendable architecture. So every time we wanted to do something, like maybe show the reply pop up when you want to reply to someone, so you can see what you're replying to, and also like editing the message that also changes the composer, and also in the future we'll have to show GIFs, and in the future we'll also have to do many things in that screen. So for the next releases, we are planning to do an audio messaging feature, so you can like press to message with audio. So I really had to think many months forward in order to make this composer. So I had to make sure it was an architecture that would allow for us to do this kind of things a few months from now without having to work too much to do that. So and everything like we are doing right now, so we were using a deprecated SDK, and I'm not sure if Rafael told this already, but we're basically making our own SDK. So it's something we will maintain in the future. And
yes. That's
so we're basically replacing the old SDK with a new SDK that we will be maintaining.
Yeah.
And the idea is that other apps will be able to use that and also use our design, or maybe change a little bit. So one of the things I also made sure was to allow for behaviors, to change the behavior of the composer easily. So thinking about other apps that would be using our SDK, maybe they don't want something that we did. So I made sure that it's very configurable also.
I think the whole thing about the composer is that we made it in a way that it's very extensible, so you can choose what action you want in every site, and on the autocomplete you can use your own cells. It's a really nice work to prepare us for the future of Rocket.Chat. Like in the future, we may want like have apps integration, like what Mateo said, like with GIFs or with commands or any other type of apps that may integrate inside the composer in some way. We don't know yet, but right now, like what we need is to create a composer that is ours, that is extensible, and we can play with it how we want. And we pretend to give this work to the other iOS developers, right? Yeah. As an open source project, we didn't decide the name yet. we we were thinking about the name, yeah. But yeah, that's. And there's also one other thing from the composer that now we are supporting dynamic typing, right? So
yes, that's one of the things I also like. It was one of the goals also. I forgot to talk about that, to support dynamic typing. So every time I was like coding it, I was always making sure to test it. So that was very, very time consuming, because you have to make it's such a complex view, and everything has to grow without breaking, and with all this extensibility also. So that was very interesting to do, and it's something that some apps don't support, like some very important apps like Telegram X doesn't support it, right? So we're very happy to be more accessible with this next release also.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. I think the new composer is a great start for us to improve later, like adding features and things. Yeah, nice work. And also, we also rewrite the entire message list, entire message components with new designs. I'm wondering if you can tell us more about the work you did, that, that you did on this, the research, and
Sure.
yeah, our inspirations, everything.
Okay. So basically, I did a lot of researching, as Rafael said, and one of the libraries that inspired me the most was IGListKit from Instagram. I like it a lot how they defined the models architecture and how the list is kind of data driving. So you just normalize your data and you and set the state throughout the view models, and then the view just you know applies the state and everything works. You don't have a lot of responsibility and state being handled in the views. So it was a great inspiration, but uh, we wanted to stick to UI kit, so we didn't want to have idealist kit on our project, uh, just to not add a big dependency where our the users from our SDK might not want to use idealist kit. So we decided to build a kind of a set of protocols to emulate the behavior of idealist kit in our SDK. So I will talk about the main goals of this part of the performance improvements and a lot of the redesign we did on the list. Starting for slicing the chat components the most, because initially or before, when we were using the Slack's chat library, we had kind of one chat view and one chat cell containing all of the logic to mutate itself and show the content based on the data. But the view layer use it to decide how it would present itself. So it was a lot of it was kind of tricky to deal with.
Everything was in one cell. Like we had the text of the message, the attachments. Was a stack view, right? And the reactions component, user avatar, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and during the
That also helps us with like reusing the cells, right? It's just not only the complexity, but it also helped with performance because we are reusing cells more.
Yeah, and we were just we could not reuse some cells, some subviews of the cell because of this state changing every time, and we need to reset the cell every time it would be reuse it, and it was a lot of work for the device to handle. So we decided to split the message the most. So basically today we have a header with the avatar, the username, the timestamp, and the message if it's not a sequential one. And if the user sends a photo or a document, it will be another cell, and it will have another view model to manage its state. And basically that's it. Every sub-component have another a cell, a view responsible to present it. So this is kind of a philosophical change. It's
we basically we basically break down the concept of the cell, and instead right now, like the concept of cell for us is a part of the message and not the message anymore, right? So now we have each message from the user is a section, right?
Yes, yes. Each message is represented by a section, and each item of the section is a subcomponent of the message.
Yeah.
So this is working. This changed a lot in terms of performance and maintainability for us, and extensibility as well, because it's much easier to add a new subcomponent or a new type of message, because we don't need to deal with all of the behavior management, because it's an entire new cell. So we also wanted to make it data driven the most, uh, which means that we just grab the data from the server, then we persist the data, then Realm notifies about the data changes, and we normalize the data, everything in background thread. And after we normalize the data, we just notify the view that we have new data, and these are, we actually create new view models and tell the view that the view should adapt to that state. And this is pretty good. It's better than, you know, we have a lot of separation of concerns right now, because each layer takes care of one responsibility. Another thing that is important to say is that we decoupled Realm from the message list. So we use it to have Realm on the entire workflow when generating a cell, when dealing with the data, and now we just grab the notification changes from Realm and we map it to a unmanaged object, so we don't have crashes regarding threading or invalidated object issues on the chat list, and it helped us a lot as well. Another point is that the reloads now are based on result of a diffing algorithm. So we just touch the cells that were changed when we receive an update from the web sockets. So this improved the performance a lot as well. And we are working with a hybrid self-sizing cells. We don't use self-sizing cells, but we create a singleton of each UI table view cell that's not on the view hierarchy, and we use the constraints to dynamically calculate the size for a determinate content. So we are not using self-sizing cells, but we are not using hard-coded calculations to determine the size of each cell. So it's working pretty good for us.
Yeah. On these points, there's one thing that took us a long time on research, right? We initially we first saw the release of iOS 12, and they announced many new things for auto layout, for the performance of the collection view scrolling with auto layout cells, like both sizing cells, but we end up having many bugs in cells that wasn't actually like choosing the right side. Yeah, like choosing the right side for the cell. Like the text was breaking sometimes. Because we now are reusing most of the components, and they may have, like, one cell may have one line of the message of message, and another cell that's going to be reusable may have 200 lines of text. So auto layout was getting lost on these. Like we couldn't have a stable version of the auto layout scrolling, but we noticed that it's much better than iOS 11, the auto layout, but it's still many issues. So we decided to work on the solution that Felipe is saying, and we are now caching the result of the site. So we calculate it once, and then we cache it in a dictionary, and we validate if needed. If any updates in the message, or a message gets deleted, or the orientation of the device changes, and these kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty good way to use auto layout to dynamically calculate the size, but in a stable way.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also one interesting thing on the messages that was the dynamic typing. So now all the message components are supporting also dynamic typing. So if you're using a device with bigger fonts, message will respect it, and also the composer. The app is not entirely yet supporting dynamic typing, but these parts, the whole message flow is already supporting, and some other screens. Our plan is to improve it in future releases. Yeah, I think that's about it. Other than all these changes, we also fixed some bugs in the app. But that was and we also supported dynamic typing on the onboarding of the app. So if you are onboarding the app, you also see the dynamic typing being supported. Yeah. Anything I'm missing from these release? I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that we covered it all.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so so as we talked here about the open source part of this release, we created a new repository that we're currently using. It's called Rocket.Chat View Controller. It's a project that implements the message, the whole architecture of the message list and the composer. It doesn't contain the cells itself, but it contains the whole architecture, so other developers can implement the same logic with their own UI. This project is not public yet because we still want to work on documentation before we turn it public. But I believe soon we'll have this project open source in GitHub. Okay, so talking about future release for the iOS app, we have now in our roadmap that first about our roadmap, we started turning our roadmap public in our forums. So if you enter forums.rocket.chat, there is a topic called Rocket.Chat mobile apps. Inside this topic, you see our planning for the next quarter. So there you can see all our priorities for the iOS and Android native apps. And one of the things that's top priority for us right now is to integrate Jitsi SDK in the app, so users can use the Jitsi native SDK to make video calls and audio calls inside the app without leaving the app. And also on this release, we plan to ship like Matteo said before, the audio component, so users will be able to tap, record an audio message, and send it to the other users. We know that these two features are very, very requested by the community, so we now have time to focus on that. Now that we have all these components in Composer implemented, we can work on that. Okay, I think that's about it, guys. Something else that I missed?
I think that's pretty much it. I guess if you're an iOS developer and you're watching this podcast thing, Feel free to come to our repository and look at some of the issues, and we can help you go through some of the problems that you may face. And you can send us a work in progress pull request, and we'll help you. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Sure.
Yeah, or just come say hi on our channel. It's called an iOS native app on Rocket.Chat open server.
Yeah, it's open.rocket.chat. You can just enter there and talk to us. Okay, thank you very much, Mateus and Felipe, for your time. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.